Hello everyone, welcome to the spoiler talk for Agatha All Along, the show that is literally the definition of the word why. Because why does this exist? Like, I don't get it, dude. Alright, I just finished watching the first episode. We're gonna do this as I do with spoiler talks, at least nowadays I do. Which is simple. One episode at a time. But like, I watched this first episode and I was like, I remembered certain things because it's been like, I don't know, a blood moon since we've had WandaVision. So I don't remember anything, but in this episode when they were talking about WandaVision towards the end of the episode, I was like, alright! I remember now. I wanted the main character here to have a most painful death as possible. Because she killed a dog, if I remember correctly. Also, this takes place 3 years after WandaVision and 2 years after Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which takes place 1 year after WandaVision. So we are in, I guess you could say, about 2026. That's good. So let's get into episode 1, starting off with Agatha, or as she's called for most of this episode until the end, Agnes. She arrives at a crime scene, and there's this girl, apparently a woman, who has been crushed. And apparently she was from Westview. And also Agatha finds a brooch in the water, so she grabs it and takes it with her. Afterwards, she goes to the library in order to maybe see if there were any books of interest that our perp has used that we might be able to use. What we learn is the fact that the books that our victim had are burned. And also we see a mysterious man, which, alright, I don't know who you are, but maybe you'll come back later on. So Agatha goes back to the station, and the chief basically is like, here's Agent Vidal. Or Vidal, I don't know. Look, I'm gonna call her Vidal. It's death, okay? I know this because of Twitter spoilers. But she basically is here in order to kind of poke around in Agatha's brain kind of thing. Because she kind of starts to talk about magic and stuff like that. And Agatha's like, oh, don't be ridiculous. And it's like, oh, okay, you're still under the spell thing. Cool, great. Alright, let's go with it, shall we? But eventually that doesn't really lead anywhere. So Agatha brings the brooch from the forest to this pawn shop and learns that it can open and has some hair in it, which may or may not come into become important later on. So back at the station, Agatha is doing some late work, and she's got a sentence, and each letter of that sentence basically spells out the Darkhold. So she kind of gets a little bit more freaky, and the chief is like, go home, and she's like, I am home, and then he turns off lights like, go home. So she goes home, and then someone rings the door, and it's Death. Well, Vidal, but Death. And she tries to once again poke at the whole you are Agatha, not Agnes, but it doesn't really work. So instead she's like, alright, let's go on with this case. Okay, good, fantastic. However, someone broke into her house, so she goes upstairs, sees that it was a boy, she runs after him, and because he gets hit by a car, she's able to capture him, and then she interrogates him. However, as the interrogation is happening, weird stuff starts to happen. Because it's like, who is she? Who is this woman? What do you mean? You're showing me pictures of flowers. Also, why are you looking over there? It's a painting. And also, the woman, Death, is gone now. So what's happening? Okay, well, what's happening here? So Agatha kind of starts to freak out a little bit because of the fact that the case that she had, it kind of seems to have vanished. So she goes over to the morgue in order to see if the case is still there. However, she does see that the case is still there, and she's like, alright, so the woman was 5'7", which, you know, is my height, so that's fun. Yes, I'm the only one who's under 6 feet who actually admits it on the internet. And it's like, alright, so 5'7" with red hair. And I was like, oh, it's Wanda. And then she looks at the tag and it turns into Wanda. It's like, it's Wanda, of course. Why wouldn't it? But she said red hair. I knew that it was her. And this is, I guess, basically to symbolize the fact that the Scarlet Witch at the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness died. Which, to be honest, I don't really have necessarily an issue with her. I mean, I hate the fact that they killed off my wife, but still, outside of that, I wish it was just in a good movie and not in that movie, but I'll get to that movie in 2026. Don't you worry about that one. We'll be, ripping to that thing in 2026. Sadly enough, that kind of means you gotta wait 2 years. But we'll get there. But as she is kind of starting to freak out a little bit, Death appears, and basically, at that point, Agatha goes through the outfits that she wore on WandaVision. And also, Death wants to help Agatha kind of escape because the fact that it's like, alright, she's dead, so now you can escape. Okay, now that she's dead, you can escape. Which is kind of ironic because she's been dead for 2 years, but now you decide to show up. This could have taken place a year after this as well. This could have taken place like right after, but I guess. But I digress. But she goes through the outfits and at the end, she regains her memory. She is back home and she's naked. And she runs outside, which means I have new masturbation material. And that's when we learn that it's been 3 years since WandaVision. Also, afterwards, she runs back inside. And for some reason, the whole internet was up in flames about the fact that you can see that booty. And I don't get why, but sure. I mean, it's a comedic thing. They've been doing that kind of stuff for generations. For decades, they've been using, like, nudity in a way as, like, for, like, a comedic thing. Like, oh my god, you're naked! You know, that kind of stuff. So, I don't get why there's such a big, like, uproar back when the first episode came out, about the fact that she was just like having her booty out. It's like, come on, dude. But she goes back inside. She learns that there's no magic. She also, there's some noise coming from the closet. She opens the closet and she realizes that the interrogation was more of a kidnapping. And then her door blasts open, and as I was talking about masturbation material, even more better masturbation material comes in, because we have Death, who just appears and then fights Agatha. She's basically here to kill Agatha, kind of, and I'm like, oh my god, kill her. Also, you're hot, but kill her. Kill her, please. I don't like... Look, if this is 1 episode long, I wouldn't really care. Kill her. However, towards the end of the fight, we learned the fact that neither of them can kill each other. And on one side, I understand it. Also, I was recently at my mom's place, and over there, I actually watched Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which, by the way, fantastic movie. Maybe one day I will review that one as well. But that one also has Death in it, so that's pretty fun. But anyway, I get why Agatha can't kill Death, because let's be honest here, you can't kill Death. However, why can't Death kill Agatha? That's kind of weird. But anyway, Death is basically like, I'm gonna tell everyone that you're around. And then she's like, hey, who specifically? And then she's like, yeah, the Salem 7, which I don't know who that is. And then Death leaves, and then Agatha looks at the boy, and she's like, all right, you're still here. And episode ends. So it was a fine first episode, but I hate Agatha. On to episode 2. So in episode 2, Agatha starts it off with basically, I don't know, just walking around doing things, and then the boy's like, let's go to Witch's Road. And Agatha initially is like, no, but then after he also says that basically he saved her, she's like, all right, let's go. Let's get into the car. And we got a little bit of an attempt at being funny, but to me, it wasn't funny. To me, it wasn't funny, but you know what? Some jokes just don't land, and some do. To each their own. So, as we go outside, we learn that the boy is actually a fan of Agatha. And the thing that popped into my head is, why? He's a horrible person. And when Agatha asks the boy his name, he says it to her, but something blocks her from hearing it. She doesn't hear what his name is, and also his mouth gets covered up. And this will happen later on again when they're in the car and he talks about his past, because she's like, hey, where are you from? And when he talks about that, like, the volume just goes down. It's like the boy opens his mouth and speaks, but no sounds coming out for Agatha to hear. But the best she hears is like, But Agatha's like, all right, we need a coven of a couple of witches in order to open the door. So we're gonna go on a road trip to get some witches, I guess. So we find which one, because I don't know, they're drawn to each other through magic powers. I don't know. And this one is a fortune teller. And Agatha comes in and is like, oh, I need to know where my husband's gold is after he died. And then she kind of is like, oh yeah, hey, did he golf? Yes, okay, good. Yeah, it's in a bag in the closet. Also, you were controlled by someone else for about 3 years and only recently were able to be freed. Fantastic. So yeah, she's a real witch. Then when Agatha's like, hey, help us, she's like, no. And then when Agatha's like, but they could solve all your problems, she's still like, no. However, she uses her magic, I guess, in order to jot down a couple of names. Like, here you go, here's your names of people that will help you. And then it's like, hey, your name's on here. It's like, now I have to go. So we got one down. So the next witch is Jen, someone who deals in, like, Zen stuff, I guess. I mean, we start off by seeing her with a candle that apparently you can also eat. Sure, why not? I've seen weirder stuff. But also, this witch doesn't have actual witch powers, kind of like Agatha, so that's interesting. And also, apparently, has big legal problems, so, because of that, which is what the boy does. The boy's like, hey, it seems like you got a bunch of legal problems, and then Agatha's like, ooh, wait, we can use this. So she basically manipulates her into joining as well, because, of course, why, like, no, everyone says the same thing. The witch's road is either doesn't exist, or I'm not gonna join you, or it's like too dangerous or whatever. They all say the same thing, so I'm gonna mention it now so that I don't have to mention it like 3 times. But eventually Jen says yes, so we go over to the next one, which is Lorna Wu's daughter. So we go into this I don't know, this shop, and we see a woman there. And Agatha knows that that is the one that we need. So she's like, hey, boy, go and run. So boy runs. By the way, boy won't say his name. I know his name because of the fact that this is the only thing really that I saw about Agatha. And apparently his name in the comics is like Wiccan. I don't know who that is. I didn't look that up, so I guess we'll keep it a secret for the real reveal. I haven't actually really seen anything about this show on Twitter at all. But I guess everything is kind of drowned in the election nowadays that... To be honest, as someone who lives in the Netherlands, I couldn't be asked to care about even in the slightest way. But everything is kind of buried under there, so all the Agatha all along stuff is just buried under, like, election stuff. Because everyone's talking about it. It's insane. But because of what happened with Boy, Wu, I'm gonna call her Wu, okay? Wu gets fired. And then she's like, I'm not gonna join your coven. Bye. Also, she lost her mom on the witch's road, which is why it might be easier to get her to join, but no, it's not. So they go back, and then Boy puts up a little bit of a, you know, like a party thing where it's like a witches club or whatever he put on there. I don't remember. I actually don't remember what he put on there, but Agatha hates it and pulls it down. And then Jen arrives afterwards. The fortune teller one arrives. And then finally, Wu actually does arrive. However, we do need an Earth Witch also on the list beforehand. There was a 4th name on there, but Agatha's like, no. So she basically eats the paper, which means she might have history with that one. Who's to say? Or, well, we don't know anything about who it is at all. Cut that. But then it's like, hey, we do need a green witch, you know, a witch of the earth. So... Boy asked the fortune teller witch what was the last name, and then she's like, it wasn't a name, it was a heart, and it was black. And then Agatha's like, well, because you were using a black pen. Of course it was black. And it's like, alright, Agatha's hiding secrets from us. Who is Blackheart? However, it is very convenient that in her street there is a woman who lives there, which Agatha goes to, who, when Wanda took over this whole town, was actually given the name Mrs. Hart. So she goes over there, she's like, oh, wonderful garden, join us for a party, would you? Then she accepts, so she joins in. They go into the basement, and afterwards she tells the boy to go upstairs and, I don't know, close windows or whatever. And then with the other witches, she starts singing a song. And as that is happening, Boy upstairs notices some creepy stuff happening. He goes outside. Oh, by the way, throughout this episode, Agatha was scared of a crow, a rat, and a wolf. I don't know if all 3 of those were death, kind of keeping an eye on her, but who's to say? But they start singing a song. You know, at least the lyrics were thought of a little bit more than with the Star Wars show. But the weird stuff keeps happening, and then afterwards outside there's this cloaked individual. And afterwards that one of the neighbors who saw Agatha naked was like, you seeing this? And then the 1 turns into 7, and it's like, oh hey, you must be that 7 club that Death spoke about in the first episode. The very attractive Death. So Boy goes back inside. He boards up everything. However, that doesn't stop them. So they basically attack the house. Also, after the singing is done, it turns out it doesn't really work. And then Agatha's like, attack me with your best shot. And they don't fall for it because Agatha wasn't really smart and told the fortune teller one that if Agatha gets attacked, that's how she gets power in that sense. So they don't do that, and eventually the boy comes downstairs, and there's apparently also a door now on the floor. So it did work. It just took a little bit of time. The door was stuck in traffic. You can understand, can't you? But they open it up, and then the boy goes downstairs, and everyone follows because then the creepiness comes down. Agatha also follows, closes the thing up, and then poof! Now it's gone. So we're trapped out here. They go downstairs, and now we are on the witch's road. out for the next episode. However, one thing that I would like to say about this, I will give the show right now already a compliment. I might despise Agatha and think that death is absolutely very hot. However, one compliment that I do have to give, this is the most TV series feely show that the MCU has done so far. I will give it that compliment. On to episode 3. So in episode 3, Mrs. Hart kind of starts to call this thing a kidnapping, which sure, why not? I don't really understand that. And she tries to phone the cops and her phone doesn't work. Also, they all have to take off their boots and go bare feet. Why? I mean, obviously it's because Feige likes feet, but outside of that, why do we need to suffer through feet as well? And the rest of the gang learns that Hart actually isn't a witch. So that's fun. And from this episode onwards, I don't know for how long, maybe it's just this episode, who's to say, but these trials make us who we are, boys. We are on trial time. But before we can do it, Hart leaves the group, and also everyone else can see the blockage of Boy's mouth. So that's interesting. I thought maybe it was just an Agatha thing, but no. It actually is like he literally will never be able to tell anyone who he is. That's gonna be very horrible if he ever gets interrogated. What's your name? What's your name? That's how it's gonna go. But as Hart has left the gang, she sits down, and then the Force tries to, I don't know, absorb her, I guess. I don't know. Reminds me of Majin Buu's absorption. So her bag disappears. She's about to disappear, but the gang gets her out. And then Agatha's like, all right, for the people who do not know, you do not stray off the path. Simple as that. So then Jen looks out and sees a house. So they go inside the house, and the trial one begins. Also, they change clothes and are trapped. They can't go outside. So the trial one begins, and Hart notices wine. So there you go. That's trial number 1. Drink. So Hart drinks because it's been one of those days. And then the rest of the gang figures out that they might be the trial, so they all drink as well, except for the boy, because he is about 16. He's not old enough to drink, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but he is. I mean, here in the Netherlands, you can drink and smoke at the age of 16. And if this boy is actually 16, he is allowed to drink, okay? He is not allowed to, like, drink, like, the heavy stuff or smoke the heavy stuff in that sense, but he's allowed to drink. Like, if you're 16 years old, at least back in the day when I was a kid, you were allowed to drink, like a beer, wine, or you were allowed to smoke cigarettes. You could purchase them even. So, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but we also need him to not be wind up for the end of this episode. Also, we get a little bit of a hint who Boy may be, and it is through Jen, because she tells the story about how Agatha sold her own child for a book, which I guess she has never heard of a library. But that kind of starts to maybe think. I mean, to be honest, it's entirely possible. For all we know, this kid could be the son of Wanda. I mean, he's not. Wanda's dead. And the kids that she had were childlike. However, this is multiverse storyline, so this guy could be like that. This guy could be the brother of Ralph Boner, alright? For all we know, he's the brother of Ralph Boner. Alright, anything's possible at this point. The only thing I know is that his name is Wiccan. Outside of that, I know nothing. Because, well, the election blocked it. For once, the election was actually useful. So, as everyone, except for Agatha, drinks, yeah, it turns out that they've drank poison. Agatha also throws it away into the plant. So everyone's faces start to swell, and then afterwards they go back to normal. However, Agatha may have thrown it away, but the house will not have any cheaters, so it fills back up. So, as they learn which actual poison it is, Agatha's like, I need to get out of here. So she grabs something and smashes a window and puts a crack in it. And then everyone stops her because, like, you can't run from the poison. Well, she ain't poisoned. That's how he figures it out. She's not poisoned. So everyone's like, I'll force it down your throat. And then Agatha's like, I'd like to see you try. And then Boy's like, I'm gonna drink it. And then Agatha's like, fine, I'll drink it. Maybe adding more to the whole conspiracy that maybe she is his mummy. Now that everyone has tasted the wine, Jen, who turns out to be a potion expert, needs to make the antidote. So she needs a bunch of stuff. However, the next phase of the poison is actually hallucinations. So everyone kind of gets some hallucinations. Fun, isn't it? And let's be honest here, to me anyway, none of the illusions really matter. I mean, Jen gets drowned by a guy who apparently took away her powers. Wu sees her mom. The fortune teller one sees death, I guess. I don't know. I mean, maybe. And that's basically all the hallucinate. And also, Hart sees Wanda, so that's fun. But they eventually throw everything in there in order to make the antidote. However, when that is happening, Agatha, because they need to pull out their hair, Agatha starts to get the hallucination, which is apparently of a baby crying. And when she removes the blanket, it is the dark hold. Also, to anyone who says that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't canon because of the fact that the Darkhold looks different, in this show, they make it apparent. I think it was actually the last episode. I think Death was actually the one who said this. But there are multiple versions of the Darkhold. Now, not anymore, but there were multiple versions. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. could still be canon to the MCU. Stay tuned for next year. But afterwards, they snap her out of it. Agatha pulls on her hair, puts it in, and then it doesn't work. Sadly enough, it doesn't really work. I thought it was because of the fact that they kind of forgot to include Hart on this, but it's not. But Jen has a panic attack, and then Agatha's like, I hate you! That's a pep talk. Interesting pep talk. Let's see if it works. But it works, and she realizes that we need the blood of the unpoisoned. The one who wasn't poisoned. So Agatha grabs the knife and just cuts the boy's hand. And it falls in, and then they drink it. And then it's like, oh no, the timer's still going. What do we need to do? And it's like, oh, hey, look, Hart hasn't drunken yet. So they grab it. They give it to Hart, and then the oven opens up, and they're like, we're not going through the oven. And then, well, yes, you are. Because the glass cracks and the water comes flying through. So everyone goes into the oven, and afterwards, we learn that Mrs. Hart is, sadly enough, Sharon, has died. So that's fun. On to episode 4. So, it's the episode of Alice, who is actually the Wu Asian chick that I was talking about before. I finally learned her name. It's Alice, which I now feel very much ashamed because that is not a difficult name to remember at all. But before we can get into it properly, we must have a burial for Hart. And then Agatha is being an absolute witch about everything. Change the W into a B. I can't say it, but that doesn't mean you can. Well, if you're underage, you shouldn't say it, but you could still type it technically, but I can't say it, alright? So I'm gonna change that word into witch from now on. And hopefully you'll understand when I mean actual witch and when I mean, you know, Agatha. I still hate Agatha. I will say, however, that this show is kind of growing on me. It's something that I would never in my life watch, but only am doing because it's part of the MCU. However, we now need a new member of the team because we are, sadly enough, missing someone. So, they do a spell for someone, and then out of the grave, since Wanda is dead, I have found a new... My wife appears! Death! You know, for years I've said I wanted Death. I never thought I meant it like this. But Death arrives. Yay, she's back finally. So now that we once again have the gang technically complete.
Darling guys, back on the road again.
And we arrive at a new house. And we go inside and it's disco time, baby. And Alice knows this house. So we have a little bit of a talk with everyone. They kind of get to know each other maybe a little bit. I kind of zoned out during the talking for a little bit. However, Agatha and Death have a little bit of a chat with each other. And Agatha basically gets her to reveal her kind of secret in that sense. And Agatha turns on the mic and Death is basically like, alright, you're gonna kill all the witches and I will get their body. And that's it. And then, you know, it kind of starts to become a little bit of a fight, but then music plays and it's very horrible and they grab it and throw it on the ground. But that's also because someone inserted the thing backwards. But they throw it on the ground. However, the music was the curse all along. And then Lilia, who is the fortune witch, she is the one who gets, she starts screaming and burning. And then we have Alice who puts basically a safeguard around her. And then afterwards, Jen also starts to scream. So once again, we put a bit of a safeguard around her. And now they both have scars on their arms. And it turns out that Alice had that scar all along. Since the beginning. She thought it was kind of like a birthmark, even though her mom had the same thing. However, we need a way to lift this curse because everyone now has the curse of Alice. Also, the boy gets attacked during this part, which is important for later on in the episode to kind of throw more evidence towards a speculation at the moment, because unless it's confirmed, it shall always remain speculation. But eventually they figure out that what they need is music. So they look up what the song is. Alice starts to freak out because it is the Witch's Road song. However, it is not just the Witch's Road song. It is the remixed version that her mom made, which is also what has protected Alice all this time. Because of the fact that it's very simple, whenever that song is played, she gets kind of like a veil around her, and apparently her mom was a very popular musician. So people are fans, so whenever someone actually plays the CD, or, I don't know, searches it up on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, and they listen to the song, it kind of puts a safeguard around her daughter, so that's actually pretty smart, because music lives on for longer than you will live on. But now we need to play the song. So we have Alice on the piano. We got Lilia with, I don't know. I forgot what the instruments are called. Sadly enough, Agatha is going to sing. We have Jennifer on bass, and we got the boy on the acoustic guitar. I kind of wish it was an electric guitar, but outside of that, let's play the song. And I will say, the song was actually pretty good. I actually really like the song. Look, the first version that we heard at the beginning was kind of but with all these instruments added in, I'm a big fan. So they play the song and they kill the curse. And then through the piano, they can now escape. However, since the boy was hurt, which they learn now, they have to heal him. So they get a bit of water. They light it up with the moonlight. Also, by the way, Death looked extremely attractive on the drum set. I will say that, because I don't think I actually said that she played the drums. But she does. But they use the moonlight and the water in order to heal the boy. And then afterwards, they have a little bit of a talk. Once again, Lilia is very much annoyed about the misconception about witches and having potentially more nipples than normally. And then Death is like, you don't have more nipples? And I will be honest, Death, that kind of got me pants a little bit moving. Please, I mean, I will suck on all of them. I will most certainly will.
What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry about that. Would like to apologize. Kind of lost myself right there. And they have a little bit of a talk, and they have a little bit of a bonding moment. It's great. However, Agatha is with the boy. For some reason, she cares. I don't really get why. So that might add a little bit more evidence that that the boy is her son. And the boy wakes up and he talks about the sigil. And basically, anyone can cast the sigil, and it can even affect the person who casted it. So, because he's like, Agatha, did you do it? And she's like, no. Well, I don't know. Could be. And then he's like, how do you get rid of a sigil? And she's like, well, it can only be destroyed. And then he's like, how? And she's like, well, they get destroyed when they're not needed anymore. Which, alright, that's very vague. So basically, when the script tells you, you can speak again, boy. But for now, silencio. And then afterwards, we have a bit more of a bonding moment. We also learned that for some reason, Death and Agatha were lovers back in the day, which was something that I desperately did not need to know. Can we bring in Deadpool so we can kind of finally bring these two lovebirds together? Yes, I did play the Deadpool video game and most certainly want that. And now I can understand why Deadpool is so in love with Death. And afterwards, basically, they have a little bit of a moment with each other, and the episode ends. On to episode 5. A new day and more of this show. So let's talk about episode 5. In this episode, we have the fact that the Salem 7 have arrived at the Witch's Road. And also, apparently, I said before that maybe the animals that we saw were Death. Yeah, no, they were the 7, so that's fun. But they have arrived at the Witch's Road. And also we learned that Agatha killed the parents of the 7 who want to kill her. So, yeah, once again, a horrible monster. If this show doesn't end with Agatha dying, it is going to be a very, very, very negative look upon this show. I will be negative towards the show if Agatha doesn't die. However, Lilia gets a vision of the fact that the 7 are here. So, we need to use one of the most well-known witches things. We need to fly on, well, sticks. I know that they say brooms, but let's be honest there. It's not really a broom, but whatever. So, everyone grabs a branch, and then they spin around while saying something, give the branch to the other person, and voila, now they all have brooms, and they fly away, they fly high. And to be honest, very much thumbnail potential if I had known this scene would happen. However, I've already made the thumbnail, so I'm not gonna do that. However, as they are flying, the road is like, hey yo, get down there now. So the road pulls them down because you're not allowed to cheat. The road doesn't like cheating. We already knew this beforehand. We still know it today. No cheating. So pulls them down, and then they fly until, well, they get attacked, and then eventually they make it into a new house. But let's get ready for another trial. And this is Agatha's trial, apparently, because of the fact that there's a blood moon everywhere. So that's great. And then the boy looks at it. It's Ouija time, baby. I also don't know what kind of outfits they wear. I don't know, maybe like 70s outfits, I guess. I don't know. So we get the rules of the Ouija board. You do not speak about death. You also do not talk over each other. You don't let go of the thing. Everything is fine. So they all sit around. Agatha doesn't want to do this, but eventually she agrees to it. So they spell out the fact that it's Mrs. Hart, and Agatha has a little bit of fun with them. I mean, not a good moment, but I will not go against the attempt. So she goes back, and then they figure out that death is here, which is literally the rules. You're not allowed to ask about death, so why is death right here? Also, since the show's already done, I know that, you know, the hot one is actually death already. So, once again, looks smashing in the outfit. And basically, what the spirit wants is to punish Agatha. I also like how when they spell out death, the actual death in the show laughs. Like, she just like, ha! However, Agatha gets freaked out, lets go of the thing, and then a spirit comes out. And then Death, which I'm gonna call her, she has a blast. She's just having a blast. I like her a lot. She really has a blast. However, they need to punish Agatha, so why don't we just? So everyone's like, all right, let's kill her. Especially Death. She's like, all right. She pulls out the blade, ready to kill her. I'm like, this is why I love that woman. This is why I do. However, then Agatha gets possessed by a spirit. But eventually, they turn on the lights again, and this spirit separates from Agatha, and we learn that it is Agatha's mummy, who is basically like, you are evil, and I should have killed you when you left my body. And I'm like, yeah, we all wish you did that, to be honest. However, the mummy has a proposition. Leave Agatha with me, and you all continue on down the witch's road. Because apparently the original coven of her mom were there to kill Agatha, which didn't really work. But since the mom makes such a fantastic offer, I would have been like, alright, see ya, bye, alright, keep her, you can have her. But then Death is like, we shouldn't allow this, and I'm like, oh, come on, why? We were finally rid of the awful witch, and now you... What? You wanted to kill her like 5 seconds ago, and now you want her? And then she's like, I didn't want her mom to have her. It's like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. So the mom possesses Agatha again, and then Alice, who apparently now has magic powers, blasts Agatha. However, since we now know how Agatha's powers work, Agatha starts sucking the power right out of her and into Agatha herself, which is killing Alice. So eventually, Boy realizes that the Ouija board is moving around, so he goes over there. Who are you? And he spells out a name. And the name is Nicholas Scratch. And then you hear a voice being like, Mummy, stop! Please, Mummy, stop! And then Agatha stops. And she kind of looks horrified by what she did. Then everyone's like, Alice, are you okay? But no, Alice is dead. R.I.P. the girl. I really don't like Agatha at all. It's just like, we could have been rid of her and continued on the road without her, okay? Boy could have become the new main character. Everything could have been fine. But no. So Agatha leaves the place, and the rest of them do as well. They have a bit of a fight. Boy is like, you killed her! And then Agatha's like, you are just like your mum. And, well, I guess we now have official confirmation that Boy is not Agatha's son. However, this makes Boy very upset because of how Agatha is just happy about the fact that Alice is just gone and just doesn't care at all. So he starts to control Jen and Lilia, which I didn't know that he could do that, but apparently he can. And they grab Agatha and throw her off the road. And after which, he also blasts Jen and Lilia off the road as well, who all get sucked in. And then the boy gets a crown. Who's ready for some backstory in episode 6? We finally learn who Boy really is. So, starting off with this episode, he's basically at a Jewish ceremony. Look, I don't know Jewish customs, so comment down below, let me know what this is, because I have no idea. And afterwards, he's at a party, and we learn that his name is William. I don't know any Williams, though, so for me, that doesn't really do anything. However, at this party, there is also a fortune teller, yes, Lilia, and he goes to see her, and he goes over to her, and she tells him that his lifeline is broken into 2, which I don't know what that means, but sure. And after it's done, she has a bit of a spasm where she I don't know, she grabs a little thing, she draws on it, puts it in the jacket, and then she's like, hey, a boy left his jacket here. Who? I don't know. I got no idea. And apparently that was the sigil as to why Agatha and everyone else can't know what his name is. However, I don't actually know how this sigil works, because the way they kind of talk about it at the end of the episode, it feels like it only really works on witches and not on everyone else. Because if you haven't been able to say that your name is William for 3 years, how have you lived for 3 years? How has no one been like, what's happening to my baby? Anyway, the party gets cancelled early because close by in Westview, there's a problem. So they leave, and then they get into a car crash. And William dies. And is resurrected. But this time, he is now Billy. Because the first thing he does is like, he wakes up and he's like, Tommy! So this is Billy. So Billy is William now. And the dad goes over to flag down a cop. And that cop is Alice. So I guess everyone was around. Sure. Alright. Very convenient that those people are also the ones that... Alright. So afterwards, Billy, I'm gonna call him Billy for the remainder of this episode. Also, this means that Wanda's son is Wiccan. I guess we figured that one out. But he gets put into the hospital, and apparently he has a bit of amnesia because, you know, he's now a different person. And when he comes home, the dog does not recognize him at all because he knows something is up. It's a good boy. So, Billy has lived as William for 3 years, and he tells Eddie that he is different now, kind of implying that, you know, William's dead, but whatever. And then they go back into his room or the attic, either one of the two. And he shows Eddie a video of Jen, so there you go, that's the tie-in with that one as well. That's the third one. And also, he then tries to talk to Eddie about the fact that witches exist, and then he's like, look, I found a guy on Reddit who can give me the answers about Westview, because everyone's covering it up. Come with me. So, Billy and Eddie, they head over there, and the contact turns out to be Ralph Boner. Yes, the biggest disappointment the MCU has potentially ever done in their lives. The build-up and then entire downfall of everything. Another reason I hate Agatha. And basically Ralph tells him, or Randall I guess, but Ralph tells him about kind of what happened. And then, because of the fact that Billy is the one who has the mind-reading powers, Ralph thinks to himself, like, please don't ask about Agatha. And he then does, and Ralph is then, alright, I'm leaving, bye. But then he still gets a bit more information about it, and we learn that Agatha forced Ralph to kill the dog. So if you're gonna say this makes Agatha innocent, this makes her even more of a monster. Alright? I'm done with her. She dies by the end of the show. She's dead. I don't care. She's dead by the end of the show. Or this show will officially get a negative review from me. Which you already know what my opinion is going to be. So, well, damn it. But because of all of this, Billy now is very much curious about Agatha. So he scours the internet to search for her. And also he learns, by the way, that Agatha is still living in Westview under the spell of Wanda. But Billy eventually finds out what he needs, and then he decides to head over there. So he goes over to Westview, he goes over to Agatha's house, and everything that we've seen from Billy, from earlier in the season, we now get his perspective from it. So he breaks in, he grabs the brooch that for some reason is important. However, he breaks a lamp, and then they get chased. But things happened very much differently. Like, Billy did not get hit by a car. Mrs. Hart opened the door, and that's what he hit. And that stopped him. But then Agatha took him back to her place and then basically interrogated him, but we all see it from his perspective. I do like seeing Agatha go completely insane. I am a big fan of that one, so I actually very much enjoyed the scene. So towards the end of it, what he was doing, you remember in the earlier in the season when he was like doing this incantation or whatever he was doing? He was like talking a bunch of nonsense towards the end of the interrogation sequence. Yeah, he was actually just breaking the spell that Wanda had over her, which is like, but your mummy put the spell on her. Okay, sure, why not? Go against your own mom's wishes, have fun. And then we can kind of catch up to when he needs to say his name. So he's like, my name is William. And then Agatha's like, eh? And then he's like, my name's Billy. And then she's like, can you say that again? And he's like, okay, so I guess you can't hear me. And that's basically it. And then in present day, Agatha returns from the ground. And then apparently Agatha has, over the course of the show, figured out, she never let it know that she actually did, but she has apparently figured out that this actually is Billy Maximoff, Wanda's kid. And he also breaks the sigil, which apparently he had the power to do this whole time. And he's like, yeah, I'm Billy. And Agatha then kind of tries to corrupt him because she's like, all right, you killed 2 people. Fantastic work. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't be sad about it. Just, you know what? Hey, your life goes on. That's the important part. And then she kind of tries to figure out what Billy really wants. And then it's like, mommy back? No. Daddy back? No. Toby back. And he's like, Tommy. So, there you go. Now we know what Billy wants. So, sadly enough, they do agree to continue on the road together. Billy initially doesn't want to, but he eventually caves. And also, my question is, where's Death? Alright, so episode 7 was a little bit difficult to follow. Do you want to come out and say that immediately? I got confused. My notes are lesser than they are supposed to be. So I'm just going to say the main stuff right now. And then I move into my notes. And that is the fact that this episode is all about Lilia, who is alive. Same with Jen. They're both alive. Baldy's alive too. Fantastic. And throughout this episode, Lilia will be time traveling kind of with her mind back in the day and maybe also to the future and, well, every which way, basically. But this episode basically starts off with the fact that Agatha's like, maybe your mom ain't dead. I mean, maybe she is, maybe she's not. Who's to say who truly is to say? And I hate that answer because it's not an answer. So we make it to the next house. We get witch outfits based off of popular witch things. And the next trial is card reading. Tarot or tarot? I don't know what it is. So I'm going to call it card reading. So they try to do the card reading, but it really doesn't work because neither of them really knows how card reading works. So Agatha just decides to put down a bunch of cards until we get the right one in the right order. While there are swords on the ceiling just falling down. And this is happening while Lilia and Baldy are revealed to be alive. They hide from the 7 who are chasing down Agatha. And then they both decide to go. Also, Lilia reveals that, a son of Scarlet Witch, name is Billy. But they decide to go back to the gang who, well, technically tried to kill them. Also, the reason that Billy did not mean to try and kill them. He accidentally used his powers. We learned that as well. And if he had known that he had all this kind of power, he would have used it to save Alice back in the day. And also, I like how in this episode, we kind of need to see things backwards in order to understand them. Because Lilia is trying to warn Alice about not saving Agatha, but it gets split in half. So that's why in that one episode we had like, save Agatha. And Agatha's like, I like it. Good plan. Anyway, let's get the antidote, shall we? I like how they use that because initially it's just a bunch of gibberish, but now it all makes sense. I actually really like that. But eventually Lilia and Baldy rejoin the gang, and Lilia takes over the game of cards. And she initially does it on Billy, but that is not the right person to do. So after another basically going back in time and coming back to the present, she basically figures out that she's the one who she needs to do the card reading on, basically on herself. And we also get the reveal that I did not know that this was going to be a big reveal, but that that Death was among us all along. And I will say, she's still looking very hot. So Lily does the card reading on herself, opens up the pathway eventually, and then afterwards the gang kind of goes through, but Lily stays, but then Lilia stays behind, closes the door, and sacks herself in order to kill the 7 Salem witches or whatever. And that's it. That's the end of her. Look, this might be a little bit of a shorter segment. Maybe you wanted more information, but I did not understand the whole that woman and the tea leaves reading, that kind of stuff, when she's like a little girl. I didn't really understand that. I found that very confusing. Also, by the way, we learned the fact that back in the day, Lilia had a vision of her people dying to a plague. And when she warned it didn't work. They all died to the plague anyway. But now we've lost another member of the team, and still we have not lost the one member I want to lose most of all. Everyone's dying except Agatha. So let's just hop straight into episode 8, the penultimate episode. Here we are at what could have been the final episode of this show. We were so close, and then Billy had to ruin everything. You know what? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's go back in time to the beginning of episode 8. So the episode starts off with Death guiding Alice to the afterlife. And then Death appears in front of Agatha and is like, look, I need the kid, because the kid kind of ruined the natural balance of things, okay? What happened wasn't supposed to happen. He's not supposed to be alive. He stole someone else's life, which I kind of find weird because didn't William die and Billy then took over? Or what? Like, wasn't William gonna die anyways? However, death can't kill Billy because if she does, Billy will just reincarnate again. He has to turn himself in willingly. And also, Billy actually has the power in order to bring Tommy into the real world. But it would require another person to die. So Agatha is like, alright, I'll give you Billy, but only if you'll just leave me alone. Alright, just leave me alone. So they are on agreement, and then Agatha meets back up with Billy and also Baldy, and they go walk a bit further, and they realize they are back at the beginning of the road. So after a bit of a heated discussion, Billy's like, you know what? Who cares about the road? I'm putting my shoes back on, okay? My feet have been getting dirty, and to be honest, I might have a disease because of walking bare feet. I'm gonna put on my shoe, okay? And when he does, he wakes up in this weird place to the final trial. So the other two also put on their shoes and arrive at this place as well. And apparently this is like Agatha's basement or something like that. So that's interesting. However, we now have the next trial. But what is the trial? Well, one thing we know for sure is the fact that when the lights go out, the trial is over. Either you succeed or you die. Simple as that. So Baldy is calm, unlike normally where she would freak out. And she's trying to figure things out. And eventually she tells her own backstory. And Agatha doesn't necessarily have a shocked reaction, which kind of gets Baldy to be like, you were the one that bound me, weren't you? And Agatha's like, yeah, my bad, okay? I didn't know, but yeah, I was the one who bound you. So, once again, Agatha is an absolute horrible monster, which deserves nothing but the most painful of deaths. However, Baldy then grabs a piece of Agatha's hair and binds her, and then she's like, you have no power over me, or whatever. I forgot what she said because I got so confused by the end of this episode. But she says the same thing like multiple times until poof, she's gone. Because this room is not just the final trial. Because the final trial is you get what you want and get out or you die. Simple as that. What she wanted was to be unbound. So now she's unbound, she's gone. Alright. Next up, we have Billy, and Billy wants Tommy back. However, Billy has the power inside of him all along in order to give Tommy a body. So Agatha, for some reason, helps him give Tommy a body. No, and Billy sees a boy drowning, so perfect opportunity right there. And then Billy vanishes as well, so I guess Tommy's out there now as well? What? Alright, sure, why not? And then Agatha, yeah, she can't really get what she wants. So she opens her, locket, the thing that she had throughout the whole show, and the hair is gone, but there's a little bit of allergies in there. Of course, she has to have a seed for the plant that I am allergic to. I don't like her. I never did, and I never will, alright? But she uses her tear in order to plant it and sprout life into that horrendous plant, which I guess completes the trial, and then she escapes from her own basement. And here we go. Because when she's outside, on top of the roof, Death is laughing. Also, the citizens of West View are like, oh, it's happening again! But anyway, Death is laughing, and she's like, alright, time to kill ya. Death by 1,000 cuts sounds nice. And so she sends glass towards Agatha and cuts her up. And I'm like, I couldn't love you anymore, could I? Because of the fact that I also want Agatha to die. However, Agatha got a hint from Lilia to duck when she heard something, and Death says this certain something, so she ducks and lives. And then when Death is ready to kill Agatha, she gets blasted away. Billy, no! Why, Billy? Why must you save this witch? Let her die, Billy. Please, let her die. This is not gonna end well. So Billy gives his power to Agatha and is like, Billy, no! And Agatha gets power back, and they team up to fight against Death. However, as you will always realize, you can't fight Death because you can't kill Death. Simple as that. And also, that woman needs to hook up with Deadpool. For crying out loud, she needs to hook up with Deadpool, okay? That's all I want out of her. So Billy and Agatha basically talk to each other about who's gonna sacrifice themselves. Agatha's like, I'm gonna do it, and then Billy gets up and is like, take me, you can willingly have me. And then Agatha was like, as promised, he's now willing to sacrifice himself, as I promised you, so now you can leave me alone. Goodbye. Also, fix my yard and plant a couple more flowers, will ya? Bye. And then Billy in her mind, Nope. Then Billy, in Agatha's mind, tells her, like, what would is this how your son died? And then Agatha turns around and basically dies. And I have never been happier that she's dead. Oh my god. I've waited so long. I even put out a tweet when it happened. As she was dying, I put out a tweet on Twitter. I just was like, everyone right now is crying because of the election, because the results are in and Trump has won. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we'll find out one day. I won't, because I don't live in America, but you will, so have fun with that one. But while all that is happening, while everyone's crying about Trump winning, I put out a tweet. Agatha's finally dead! I couldn't resist, dude. I hate Agatha so much. So she dies. We have a burial for Agatha, which she doesn't even deserve. And then Billy goes home. He goes up to his room and he sees things from the trial, from the road that they've been on. And this is kind of where I got confused. And then at the end, he's like, it was me. And then we hear a voice behind him. He turns around and see you in the finale. Well, can't say I'm disappointed. I am, by the way, just for anyone who doesn't really understand it. I'm entirely disappointed. My goodness, what a disappointing episode this finale was. But we're here at the finale finally, so let's just hop into it immediately. So, back in the day, we see a pregnant Agatha running through a forest, and then Death appears. And then she's like, don't take away my baby that isn't born yet, please. And then Death is like, I'll give you some time. How much? And then Death is gone. And then Agatha gives birth in the forest. And then afterwards, she spends about, 6 years or so killing witches with her son. Look, they do say that a child and a mother and a child should form a bond. Killing witches is not really the activity that I would envision for how we should craft that bond, but sure, anything works. However, the boy, sadly enough, is dying, so the boy needs to lure a couple of witches away, but he decides not to, runs into the forest, and then he's like, don't worry, we'll kill some more tomorrow, don't you worry, mommy. And then in his sleep, the boy, sadly enough, dies, and well, we don't know that yet until afterwards, but basically we see the boy wake up. Death is like, come here, bye. And the boy walks over to Death, and then they walk off. And then the next day, Agatha wakes up and is like, no, my son's dead. Why, Nicholas? So I don't really get this because of the fact that it's like, it looked like something horrible had happened to kill the boy. At least that's kind of what they implied over the course of the show. But he just died in his sleep with no... also, why was Death there at the beginning? And did Agatha have to plead, like, please don't take my son? It's like, what? I did not understand that. You can comment down below if you know the answer. But I don't get it. Anyway, Agatha buries her son's body and then also took a bit of his hair and put that in the brooch. And that is what was inside the brooch at the beginning of the show. So, there you go. There's the answer. And then a woman appears and she's like, hey, I want to go on the witch's road. And then over the course of the years, Agatha creates the coven and kills them all when the coven doesn't work in order to open up the witch's road. Until we go all the way back to the beginning of the show when it did work. And what we ended off with the last episode was the fact that the one who created the witch's road was actually Billy. He made the witch's road, so that's cool. That's why he said it was me. Also, Agatha is a ghost now. Yeah, I wasn't really happy about that, to be honest. I don't like that, dude. I don't. I would thought we were finally done with this evil witch, and she's back. Ugh. But Billy made the road, and now he has a bit of a panic attack because the fact that means that Alice, Sharon, and Lilia are dead, technically, kind of, indirectly, because of him, because of his mind. His mind killed them, which is like, well, not entirely. I mean, technically, I would say that this was still the fault of Agatha. And also, you didn't mean to kill them. There's difference. Agatha's still the villain here, alright? We're not gonna dismiss that just because of the fact that you think you killed a couple of people, alright, Billy? Don't you worry about that. However, not everyone died because Jen did survive because she crawls out of a hole and flies away right outside of Westview. And to be honest, Agatha's like, yeah, look, I was gonna kill him anyway and take their powers. It's as simple as that. So when you created the road, you technically saved them. Also, that means that yes, the road doesn't exist until Billy created it. So Billy goes over to Agatha's house, goes down to where the door is to the witch's road, and he does a spell there in order to banish Agatha. And Agatha's like, I just want the brooch, man, because otherwise I can't face my son. Alright, give me the brooch. And then out of her anger, she's able to slap the brooch out of his hands. And then picks it up and attaches it to herself. And then Billy comes up with this brilliant idea to be like, how about you be my guide on this journey, because now we need to find Tommy. And I kid you not, that's the end of the show. That's how it ends. Another cliffhanger that is never gonna be resolved. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it's gonna be resolved because there is another show in the WandaVision universe, I guess, that will be coming out. And that is Vision Quest. I think that's the name of the show. But it just ends with the fact that they're like, that's fine, Tommy. And look, I did not like that. But Vision Quest, like I said, is able to potentially follow up on this. Who knows? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who's to say? Maybe Vision Quest is gonna be its own thing and just not follow up on anything at all. Which is kind of weird because, you know, it's been about 15 years since we've had WandaVision. Come on, dude. You're joking me. But overall, I will say that there was a lot I liked about the show. Alright, there were things that I also was less likable about. And obviously, I hate Agatha all along. But you can officially see my opinion throughout this video on each episode as we go through the episodes. But I will say I was disappointed by the ending. It's not as bad as the ending for WandaVision, which is awful and technically ruins the whole show. And it's like one line that gets delivered in that show. And it's like, you did nothing wrong. And it's like, she basically just took a whole town and just enslaved it. But we're just gonna ignore that because she did nothing wrong, right? Yeah, alright, cool. But I loved when we were on the Witch's Road and all the trials. I had a lot of fun, actually, with all the trials and all that stuff. I did. I like the characters individually, kind of. I mean, some get more development than others, obviously. Agatha is absolutely pure evil, and I hate her with every fiber of my being. The fact that she's still technically around. I mean, she's dead, so at least I got what I wanted. But now she's a ghost, so she's still around. And I wanted her to be gone forever. So that part disappointed me. But at least this show isn't as stupid as WandaVision's ending. So at least that is not happening. And who knows? Like I said, maybe we'll get a sequel to this kind of thing. Maybe we'll get the plot resolved in Vision Quest. Who knows? Because I don't know what Vision Quest is going to be. And we're probably going to have to wait about 2 years for that one. Because I think that one might come out in 2026. If we're unlucky, probably 3 years for 2027. But who knows? I mean, next year is already packed. Because basically they're releasing something monthly. Not everything that I'm going to watch. Because the animated stuff I don't really care about. So I'm basically just there for Daredevil, Ironheart, and Wonder Man. And outside of that, everything else can burn. And I will do these kind of videos on it. And also, I'm planning on doing like episode talks for Daredevil Born Again, because I'm actually passionate about that thing. I'm looking at my Disney Plus watch list, and it's just nothing but the Defenders saga. I see the Defenders, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Daredevil, because the fact that that is the kind of stuff that I recently watched. Well, recently-ish. The last kind of things that I watched was like the Defenders saga for reviews, with Daredevil Season 2, Luke Cage Season 1, Iron Fist Season 1, and the Defenders. It's nice that it's all lined up right there. But like, I'm excited for Daredevil Born Again coming out next year, because I'm a big fan of Daredevil and also the show. But like, this show for me is look, I was a lot more positive about it early on, but I think that the ending kind of flubbed it, in my opinion. So I'm less excited about it. But the sets, also the costumes, it all looked really good, actually. I really like each door was like an outfit change. I enjoyed that. That was also kind of something that I enjoyed about WandaVision, where like each episode we're going into a new time, and then we get like a new outfit. And like I said, the characters themselves I also pretty much enjoyed. But to be honest, talking about that is more for a review and not really a spoiler talk. But I thought that this show looked great, but I was a little bit more disappointed about the ending as a whole, because all the characters that I liked are dead, and Agatha is still around for some reason. So I'm a bit disappointed by that. And also, Death didn't really do much in the show. That's also something that I would say that I would be disappointed by, because of the fact that, like, what did she do? She was just around to be basically a nuisance, and outside of that, it was nothing. I would say that I was, I don't know. So, I'm gonna stick by my score for my review, but I'm also gonna end this spoiler talk. So, comment down below your thoughts on Agatha all along. Did you love it? Did you not? Tell me why. Or are you more like kind of like me, more of like in the middle-ish, but more of a in the middle but positive? That's what I would say. That's where I would like kind of classify myself. I'm not gonna give this thing a 10 out of 10, but like it's not like a 4 or something like that. All right, so comment that down below. But with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new, if you're not already, turn on notifications, and don't forget to check out my Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow for a very special video that potentially is going to be recorded on the day that this gets uploaded on Friday, because today, the day of recording this, is actually Wednesday. And I just got in between the last episode talk and this one, I actually got the notification on my phone that a couple of Transformers figures are on their way to me right now as we speak, and that is basically the third wave of Studio Series 2024. So I'm very excited to delve into that box. However, that open box video will not be going up tomorrow, because obviously tomorrow is a Transformers review day. No, that will be uploaded on Sunday. So yes, I do have a very packed week have had a very packed week. Every day we've had 2 videos, except for Monday, which was just Dragon Ball Daima. But I also wouldn't have had time to make another video. But yes, so Sunday will be another open box video, but tomorrow will be my review of Transformers Studio Series Decepticon Infantry Soldier. So I hope you guys will check that out, and obviously stay tuned for Sunday when we have another review of Dragon Ball Daima and the open box for the Studio Series lads. And then next week on Tuesday will be my review of the Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime, and after that we'll delve into the rest of the box. So hopefully you guys are all excited about that, and I will promise you this, at least I think so, next week is not gonna be as packed as this week was. But I hope you guys enjoyed the spoiler talk. I'm gonna record the review now, so I'll see you guys tomorrow for Decepticon Soldier. Bye!